Hello everyone and welcome back aboard the night train. I recently did a video giving a bit of an overview / update of where things currently are with the layout. And in that video I showed off the inspection pits that I fitted into my standard gauge sidings just outside of the main loop. I actually went about installing those pits slightly differently to the ones that I installed into the narrow gauge yard. I actually fitted them according to the instructions this time. So I thought I'd show off the other way that I went about it, building them first and painting after, to show you the process and give you the option to look at both and decide which one you prefer. So, here's how I got on. My first task was to cut out the slots for the pits to fit into. After deciding on my number of segments, I marked out the area to cut out and drilled holes in the corners. With a razor saw, I worked my way round, cutting out the section of wood. A quick check made sure the pieces fit. After a spray of primer, I proceeded to glue all the sections together with plastic weld glue, trimming off the excess tags on the end. I repeated the process for my second pit. To fit the stairs, I cut these from the sprues and then glued them in the ends of the pits, ensuring they were flush and straight. For the crossings, I glued these over the section joins to add some more structural rigidity. Next came the track. After marking out where to cut on a piece of Pico set track, I then tore off the necessary sleepers from underneath. I didn't use the rails that came in the kit as I wanted longer rails than what was provided. Carefully, I threaded these through the slots on the pit sections. With everything in place, I went about painting the kit, a change of approach from when I built the N-gauge versions. I went for a similar colour scheme, starting with a base of Humbrol acrylic light grey that's akin to concrete. With the concrete layer dry, with a fine brush I then painted the rails in Humbrol acrylic track colour, picking out the rail plates as I went. After painting the crossings in a dark grey, I spread a layer of smoke, grime weathering liquid over the whole of the pit. With these dried, I began on my Pico buffer kits. Removing the parts from the sprues, I then trimmed off the rear framing of the buffers to shorten them. Back in the pits, I added the next layer of weathering using Humbrol black weathering powder and a wet brush. With the pits done, I put them in position on the board, pinning the sleepers down with track pins to keep everything solidly applied. With the pits in place, I went back to my now primered buffers. I painted them in a base layer of track colour so they resembled recycled rails. The buffer faces were picked out in red and the lamps in white with a red lens. All that was left to do was to put the pieces together ready for the layout. Around the inspection pits I'd laid black scatter with my usual ballasting technique to make the area look covered in ash and soot. I then clipped the buffers onto the ends of the sidings and ballasted around this area to secure them with PVA glue. I'd cut off the overhangs with a Dremel disc cutter once the rails were secured. I was a little heavier with the ballast application here to make sure everything stuck solidly, and used a blend of finer and coarser scatter sizes. With everything in position, all that was left to do was to add the glue. Here's the final result, and I love how much depth this adds beneath the height of the track. It opens up some new modelling possibilities with the engines, giving a fresh additional purpose to what would have otherwise been simple storage sidings. The shorter buffers also help make the most of the available space. There wasn't enough clearance to fit a small engine shed, but something about this all being open air makes it all the more intriguing. Here's my British Railways standard 4MT tank engine, who looks at home with the hinged smokebox door open as if it's been cleaned and emptied. I'm glad I went through the extra effort installing these. So that was my last really big piece of track laying, and arguably it may have ended up being the most fun as well. All that's left for me to do is a little bit of ballasting here and there to blend the edges of the track in with the scenery, and also the inserts for the level crossings on the curves, which I'll get to once the roads are complete. Slowly, it's all coming together. Well, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in another video very soon. Take care.